Hey, what's going on, guys? It's James here, and I know it's been a long time since I've uploaded a video. I believe October was the last one I made talking about Black Ops 4, which since then has actually been confirmed. I believe it's 9 days until they do the official community reveal, which I am extremely excited for. But today I'm going to talk about something a little different. Usually I'm talking about updates on new games or what's going on with the developer side of things, but today I actually want to talk about Call of Duty eSports. Now, if any of you guys are into Call of Duty eSports or the Call of Duty World League, I'm pretty sure that many of you either grew up being OpTic fans or are currently OpTic fans, which is honestly how I got my start. It was back in Black Ops 2. I had played Call of Duty off and on my childhood, and one night I just happened to see one of the Black Ops 2 tournaments going on, and it was between, I believe, OpTic and FaZe Clan. And literally ever since that night, I have been absolutely obsessed with this world. And if you've been following competitive Call of Duty, at least since Advanced Warfare, you're pretty familiar with OpTic's roster that's been around for about 3 years of Formal, Karma, Crim6, and Scumpy. Well, unfortunately, that dynasty has ended. If you haven't watched OpTic Gaming's Vision, which is a series that they do where they basically give you updates on every esports team they have, this past one was the announcement that they have released Formal, and Karma is off the competitive team, but as of right now, he is still a part of OpTic. Now, to what extent, no one really knows, but Formal has been traded to Luminosity Gaming in exchange for Octane, and Karma is being replaced by Methodz, who had previous success with Rise Nation, but last event at CWL Seattle he was actually on Team Caliber. So I believe OpTic bought out Methodz for the remainder of his contract with Team Caliber, and yeah, that's the new team. It is now Crim6, Scumpy, Methodz, and Octane. And a lot of people are really upset about that. Personally, and this isn't meant to be a jab at Methodz or anything, but I haven't been the biggest fan of him. That's mainly because I haven't kept up with him that much and that closely. But I'm extremely excited to see what Octane can do on this team. And I think Methodz will complement Octane incredibly. There was a lot of confusion about why Octane would leave Luminosity Gaming. Luminosity was a pretty big force to be reckoned with so far this year in World War II. He was on the team with JCap, Slacked, John, and himself, and they've won one championship so far in this game, and I believe they've made it to 2 grand finals this season. So a lot of people were confused why he would leave that to go to OpTic, who has been struggling. They made it to 1 grand finals. They've placed, I believe, between 13th and 16th at CWL Seattle. They had a 7th place finish, a 12th place finish at New Orleans. So no one really knows why he would switch over to OpTic Gaming and give up his success with Luminosity. But in his interview with OpTic Hitch during their filming of Vision, the reasoning he gave for it was because it's OpTic Gaming. That is something you don't pass up no matter who you are with. And he mentioned how it's been like his dream, and that's what he always visioned him doing when he started competitive Call of Duty. And when the offer comes up, you just don't turn it down. So that's the reasoning behind why he took that position. Now, I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter, people coming up with their different versions of what the roster should be or what OpTic should have done instead of picking up Methodz and Octane. But I think it's a good choice of who they picked up. Formal, I think, will be a perfect fit for Luminosity, taking over that AR role. And honestly, when you look at it, Octane and Formal have been pretty neck and neck when it comes to their stats this year. So as far as respawn game modes, OpTic hasn't struggled too much. They had a earlier stint where they just could not finish their hard points, and that came to bite them back in New Orleans when they choked a lead to lose to Red Reserve to get knocked out in 7th place. But S&D is where they struggled, and I'll get to that in a minute. But in their respawns, Formal was actually leading over Octane. Formal had a 1.28 KD when it came to respawn game modes, and Octane had a 1.18. They're pretty close, but when it comes to clutch situations, that actually makes a pretty big difference. But since OpTic hadn't really been struggling on that front, I don't think that's going to make much of a difference. Now, when it comes to S&D, that's something OpTic has struggled all season long and really through the past 3 years of them teaming together. So S&D has kind of been what's giving them a hard time. And that's where I believe Octane comes into the picture. In S&D, Octane has a 1.19 KD, which is basically the exact same as he has in the Respawn game modes. But Formal's sitting at a 1.0 KD, which when it comes to those search and destroy moments and you're left in the 1v1s or the 2v1s, and statistically Octane has a better percentage and a better chance to win those situations and win rounds for OpTic. So when you break it down, I think it was a better choice to pick up Octane in exchange for Formal. I love Formal to death. I've met him a few times. He's the nicest guy in the world. But when it comes down to winning, I think they made the right choice with that switch. And I think Formal will be a great addition to Luminosity, and it'll definitely make room for some pretty intense gameplay when it does come to the future events. Now, when it comes to Methodz replacing Karma, I don't believe they replaced Karma with Methodz for skill at all. Karma is one of the best players in the world. Methodz is a fantastic player. He's probably definitely top 10. But Karma is Karma 3 rings. He has the most championships out of anybody. And I honestly believe he just got kind of screwed out of a position. Him and Formal complemented each other very well. And with Formal gone, I believe it made Karma appear to be a weaker player and did not complement Scump and Crimsix as well as with the addition of Formal. And we kind of saw the same thing before CWL Seattle when Team Caliber dropped Theory, or Theory left, and they ended up dropping Chino because Chino and Theory complemented each other very well, but when Theory didn't want to play with Kenny or Accuracy anymore, Chino was kind of left out to dry. And when it comes to forming a team, the main focus is having players who fit each other's play styles and complement each other in game. So when it comes down to Karma did not want to play the game at all. He did not like World War II, and he just did not have the drive to compete in a game that you hate, which I totally understand. And when it comes down to Formal, statistically, where they need it, he was weaker than Octane. And outside of the gameplay, he did not want to compete with this team anymore. He made that very well known. He just didn't want to do it anymore, and he needed to make some sort of change to give him that drive back to practice, because OpTic, they didn't practice probably the past 2 months. They talked about in the episode of Vision that they were even scrimming with different players the day before CWL Seattle. They scrimmed with their coach Teep. They even scrimmed with Nameless, who isn't competing anymore. And that just kind of shows the trouble they were having internally, to where they couldn't even get together to practice the night before an open, which it's sad to see, but it's understandable. And Hector, the owner of OpTic, brought up a point that I don't think anyone realized, that when they brought in Methodz and Octane to film Vision and to finalize contracts, they went out to dinner, and Hector during his interview got kind of emotional and pointed out this was the first OpTic Call of Duty team dinner in 2 years. Now keep in mind, last year they won champs. They were very successful last year, but that was less than a year ago, and it's been 2 years since they've had a team dinner. That pretty much shows the struggle this team has been dealing with for longer than people have noticed. But I'm going to start to wrap it up. I just wanted to give a heads up and give an update for some of you guys who maybe didn't see anything on Twitter, have been kind of out of the loop, but still curious about what's been going on. I am going to get back into making videos. The reason I took a break from that was I have actually started my own esports organization. We're called Solidity, and we competed at CWL Atlanta with the Call of Duty team. We're now investing into a Fortnite team for when competitive Fortnite does officially become a legitimate field. If you're interested in hearing anything about Solidity, I'm going to leave the links to our Twitter in the description. If you go there, drop us a follow, see what we've been up to. And if you found this video helpful, please drop a like on the video, hit the subscribe button. Like I said, I'm gonna start uploading more and more. Probably most of it's going to be dedicated to CWL and esports news, mainly due to the fact that I have personally been burnt out on World War II, and I do not have that same drive to play it until some major changes are made. But that's gonna do it for me. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you all next time.